Hello, my name is Robert Severns, and today I will be talking with Christopher Bennett. Chris, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Hey, this is Chris. I am a creative writing student here as well at Full Sail.
Alrighty. Well, we have just some questions here about visual arts. Uh, what do you see as the role of visual arts in society today, particularly in your profession?
I'm a guy who's been in community college before this, and I think actually a lot of schools in our country are downplaying traditional English degrees. But the ones that are remaining, like Full Sail, are definitely reshifting their focus to transmedia, film and television, especially because that's where a lot of the work is. People are always going to be writing novels and plays, but I believe a bulk of writing talent will shift to the visual entertainment mediums like television and film, and kind of already has.
Interesting. And now that new communications and media technologies make imagery almost instantly available, do you believe that this will have a positive or negative influence on the industry?
There are positives and negatives there, I think. I think the biggest negative would be that because of instant availability, there are a lot more people writing and thus a lot more competition. But the positive side of that coin would be that it's easier to get your own stuff out there and available via the internet and ebook format. Self-publishing is also a lot easier and more viable nowadays. So you kind of take the good with the bad on that one. But I do think personally that overall the positives do greatly outweigh the negatives on that one.
And, with visual arts and images, what, favorite image do you find repeated throughout your industry?
In terms of prose and actually a lot of mediums, the usual examples apply for that one. Vampires and zombies would definitely be two easy culprits to pick out. Certain things become popular and then they can stay that way for a long time, sometimes regardless of whether anybody even wants the content anymore.
Yeah.
It's like a prison, a horrible word, prison.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
we're all incarcerated in.
Yeah, we are kind of stuck with the vampires and the zombies, getting kind of tired of them.
I hate them.
Well, who is one of your favorite visual artists, and what would their particular visual art be?
I think I'd probably have to say Stanley Kubrick. 2001: A Space Odyssey is definitely one of my favorite films. He has a really spare yet very deliberate and clean style that I really love. And I think that looking at his catalog, I don't think most people would say that he's ever made a bad film, which is incredibly impressive. My favorite visual style of art, though, would definitely be comic books. I've been an avid reader since high school, and I think the thing that I love most about comics would definitely be the fusion of literary and visual storytelling. Definitely.
I would definitely agree with you on that. And just, one final question that we have here is: has your knowledge of famous artworks influenced your creative process at all?
My inspirations and things that have influenced me are really varied. In terms of the traditional visual styles of art, I've always been really partial to Japanese woodblock prints, but as growing up, definitely video games and animations were the major influences on me, and definitely still are. Especially in terms of world building and theme, those games had a huge influence on me. Stuff like Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, Halo, that type of thing. But comics these days are definitely a big one up there as well. Especially, the indie comic book scene. None of that big two crap.
Yeah. There are some listeners out there that would argue that every Zelda game is the same game, from the first to possibly the most current. What would you have to say to them?
Well, there are certain themes and the gameplay that definitely do transition over that are sort of there for the fans. That's what they come to the Zelda series for. But especially aesthetically, Zelda has every single game is wildly varying in terms of the aesthetic. Take Wind Waker, for example. Wind Waker had a very beautiful, flowing, cel-shaded aesthetic that people really, it polarized the community on there. But
his giant baby head.
Yeah, he had a baby head. He was a very small character, but
yeah,
it wasn't bad.
Okay.
I would tell those fans,
Yeah. Well, okay. So before we run out of time today, I just want to thank Chris Bennett for coming on to the show, and this is Rob Severns signing out.